Hello, this is Paul from debatelevel.com. Civilizations rise and fall. We've seen the Roman Empire rise and fall. We've seen Byzantium fall. We've seen ancient Persia rise and fall. We've seen the West rise. Many people seem to be under the impression that in the world of modern technology, civilizations can no longer fall, and that in the world before the invention of the internet, different rules applied than now. This is an illusion. Western civilization can fall. Perhaps the chance that it will fall to some hostile invading army is pretty close to zero, but it can still fall due to other causes. Mass migration can be a reason. There are many different forecasts of how the demography will develop itself. Some predict that 20% of the population of countries like the UK, the Netherlands and Germany will be Muslim by 2050. Others predict 30% or even 50%. Now it is very hard to find out which one of these many predictions is accurate, and you can't deny the fact that it depends on things like how bad will global warming be? Will European countries finally stop the stream of illegal migrants? What geopolitical developments will take place during the next decades? What we do know is that the percentage of Muslims is likely to increase. Currently the birth rates for native British and Dutch people is below 2 per couple. This doesn't help. Human history teaches us that migration always has consequences. It's unavoidable. This is even more so if the people that are migrating have a very hostile ideology, like Islam. Islam itself has destroyed many civilizations. It is what it does. The Hindus, the Persians, the Coptic Christians, they've all been leached by Islam until there was nothing left. Will Europe be next? It might already be happening right before our eyes. But why don't we do something? Meanwhile, the number of Muslim migrants accepted by countries like Japan, Poland and Hungary is close to zero. Why do they refuse them? Is it because they are all racist? Well, no. It is simply because they understand something that we, in Western Europe, do not understand. They have something that we have lost. So, what is this? This is the realization that you received this civilization from your forefathers. That you have to protect, maintain and improve this civilization, so that you can pass it on to your children. Civilization is a pact between the dead, the living and the unborn. The Polish know this, the Japanese know this, and the Hungarians know this. But the British and the Dutch do not know this. They have forgotten it. Multiculturalism is not the paradise that it is claimed to be by its proponents. It has cultural relativism at its very basis, which implies the idea that cultures are equal. Cultures are not equal. How can a culture that invented modern medicine, women's rights, basic human rights, secularism, and abolished slavery be equal to a culture that oppresses women, either kills or strongly rejects homosexuals and apostates, and produce nothing of value throughout all of human history? It can't. Cultures are not to an equal extent able to maximize human happiness and human prosperity. Why do France, Great Britain and Germany have a sudden problem with religious radicalism, while Poland, Hungary and Japan don't? Multiculturalism with Islam is nothing more than an attack on Western culture, in the very home of Western culture itself. In case it goes wrong, there is a plan B for the non-Western peoples. They can simply go back to Turkey, Pakistan or Morocco. To what country can we go back to? Nowhere, because this is our home, built by our forefathers who survived the conditions of the Industrial Revolution, fought 2 world wars and rebuilt their countries after it, so that their children, we now, can live in a Europe that is safe and prosperous. Western and Northern European countries have lost the realization that civilization should be actively maintained. This is to blame on the ideology of political correctness. Political correctness implies that Westerners should somehow feel guilty for their history, that cultures are equal, that multiculturalism is the road to paradise, and that cultural minorities need to be protected from any criticism. It also implies that those who reject the ideology of political correctness itself, or those who fall outside of its boundaries, are racists, bigots, xenophobes and Nazis. But this is an illusion. It is fake. It isn't true. Are the Japanese, the Hungarians and the Poles Nazis? Political correctness also establishes the character trait tolerance as the highest virtue, and therefore people who demonstrate to possess this character trait of tolerance are often seen as very good and very moral, and they themselves truly feel as if they really are. Debates are no longer about rationality, but instead about virtue signaling.
En achter Johnny de Mol staan letterlijk duizenden mensen die vluchtelingen helpen. Met eten, met kleding, met onderdak, met aandacht. En eigenlijk staan wij allemaal achter Johnny. Omdat we allemaal meeleven met mensen die hebben moeten vluchten voor oorlog en geweld. En vooral omdat we meeleven met kinderen die in ellende hun toekomst moeten beginnen. En achter onze beweging van empathie staan miljoenen mensen die mantelzorg verlenen.
Due to the ideology of political correctness, viewpoints and political actions that will ultimately lead to the self-destruction of our civilization are seen as very virtuous, while viewpoints and political actions that will ultimately lead to the preservation of our civilization are seen as racist and bigoted. It basically works as follows. If you would go to the UK or the Netherlands and tell the average person, hey, I would like to reduce the migration to zero and defend the borders because I want a good life for my children, he or she will probably call you a racist. If you instead would have said, oh, the Crusades were so bad, we have to take in more migrants, the world is for everyone, he or she would have applauded you. Oh, you're so virtuous and so smart. However, if you would go to Poland and tell the average person, hey, I would like to reduce the migration to zero and defend the borders because I want a good life for my children, he or she will simply reply by saying, yeah duh, who doesn't? If you instead would have said, oh, the Crusades were so bad, we have to take in more migrants, the world is for everyone, he or she would have thought you were on drugs and would have called an ambulance. So which country will consist for 1/3 of Muslims if migratory patterns continue? The Netherlands or Poland? The Netherlands. Which country has a Muslim population, of which 70% prefers the laws of the Quran above the secular laws? The Netherlands or Poland? The Netherlands. The population of which country has recently lost political power in its own homeland to some Islamist party of Turkey's new dictator Erdogan? The Netherlands or Poland? The Netherlands. So who is more successful at maintaining this civilization and passing it on to their children? The Dutch or the Poles? The Poles. The problem with political correctness is that political opinions, which, if carried out, will lead to burdening your own children and grandchildren with a civil war against Muslims in their own homelands, are seen as virtuous opinions. Destroying your own country and therefore your children's future with migration is virtuous. Throwing away everything that your forefathers worked hard for to provide you with is virtuous. Betraying your own people is virtuous. We have arrived at a point at which we have to choose. What do we care about more? Providing these non-Western people with a better life, or providing our own children with a safe and prosperous Europe? We cannot do both. The two are mutually exclusive. Who do you prefer? Who do you choose? Political correctness is a dangerous ideology. It is like committing a murder on your own children and feeling virtuous while doing so. It needs to stop. Western Europe needs a cultural breakthrough, a paradigm shift. Back to acting responsibly. Back to respecting their own forefathers and their own children's future. And there is nothing racist about that, because other races do it too, and they're not racist. This is Paul Nielsen from debatealive.com. If you like the content, please subscribe or consider supporting this channel through Patreon. Your support is appreciated. And most importantly, never stop debating the left on Islam. Take care.